I had been a stay-at-home mom actually for 13 years with my kids. And then during that time, that was when I enrolled in the MBA program. I also ended up getting divorced. I wasn't allowed to go back to my house to get my stuff. I asked a couple of college students if I rented a truck, if they would go down and get my things. And so they did that. And then that sort of kind of spurred like, I wonder if I could think of something to do that would help women like do things, because women tend, in my opinion, to be the ones that are organizing things happening for their own family or maybe their parents or, their grown kids, that sort of thing. That's kind of how it started. And then I was like,
welcome back to Movified. I'm your host, Mark Hershey, owner of Salmon's Moving and Stores, located in wonderful and beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And we are hitting up the West Coast because I am thrilled to have Sabrina Jones in the house. She is like the trailblazing founder of MovHer. I love the play on words on this one. LLC back in Spokane Valley, Washington. We were talking just before about how people think that Spokane is about a 30-minute drive to Seattle. And no, it is not. It is not, people. It is not. But it is a beautiful place to check out. I grew up going to a little town called Leavenworth, a little German village that was about, 45 minutes from Spokane?
that's a couple hours.
Or an hour? Is it really? Is it still that far?
A couple hours.
I always felt like it was shorter. Listen, since 2010, Sabrina has exactly. It was huge, right?
That's
My wife,
ginormous.
I remember when I met my wife, she's like, your dad is only 5'4", right? You told me that he was quite tall. And I was like, yes, but like, as a kid, you always look up to your dad. So, Sabrina's built this woman-owned powerhouse, earning several Angie List Super Service Awards. We do not have Angie's List up in Canada, but I know Angie's List is huge out there. So, I mean, it's huge kudos to that because it's a platform when you stay up top. It's fantastic. 2024 BBB Torch Ethics Award.
You have
Which is
all the
pretty
info.
remarkable. And prestigious Senior Move Management Certificate, which is fantastic, especially, and we're going to talk about diversification, but having that type of certification is huge, especially for senior relocation. You got a large warehouse, a Wenatchee branch, services from moving locally to wine storage, which is super interesting. And we're going to talk about that as well, too. As long as you're not getting into the wine, it is a fantastic industry to get into. But MovHer is known for its woman's touch and community heart, supporting groups like Transitions. Sabrina, welcome to Movified. Thank you so much for joining me on
I'm so
the show.
excited.
Do you
Yeah.
like that intro? I feel like I'm slowly getting better, but I'm still horrible at it. So, but
No, you did a
I
great
think
job.
I think I'll get it. I'll get it right one day.
It was perfect.
Can we talk about the fact that, there was a time in 2012 where you just decided to go all in on MovHer, leaping while trying to earn your MBA? Like, I kind of want to get this origin story because so many people don't just get out of school going, I can't wait to start a moving company. Like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And so here you are with the stable job. It's 2012, and I want to understand the name and what led you to want to get into the moving industry.
How much time do we have?
Well, if you're anything like Stephen Reed, I'm going to hold you pretty tight.
Yeah,
here on the
right.
time, so the
Right.
answer is
No,
no.
I'll try to kind of keep it at the 30,000 foot level. But I had been a stay-at-home mom actually for 13 years with my kids. And then I got a job at Gonzaga University, if you've heard of that. Go Zags. Maybe through basketball. You a basketball fan? Anyway, so Gonzaga University is in Spokane. And at the time I was living about an hour away. And so I would commute there, and it was a Monday through Friday job. And my kids were in grade school at the time. And then during that time, that was when I enrolled in the MBA program while I was at Gonzaga, because you could go for free. So why not? And I also ended up getting divorced during that time. And so that was a little bit of an uproar.
You take the house. I'm getting an MBA. No, it's
Yeah. And so I wasn't allowed to go back to my house to get my stuff. I asked a couple of college students if I rented a truck, if they would go down and get my things. And so they did that. And then that sort of kind of spurred like, I wonder if I could think of something to do that would help women like do things, because women tend, in my opinion, tend to be the ones that are organizing things happening for their own family or maybe their parents or, their grown kids, that sort of thing. That's kind of how it started. And then I was like, I mean, I grew up on a farm. So I grew up on a 1,000-acre wheat farm. And so we had not weed, not marijuana, wheat, wheat and barley.
Oh no, wheat,
Let me be
wheat.
specific. Wheat and barley. And so I would grew up hanging out with my dad. My poor dad got 4 girls. And I'm probably the closest he got to a boy. I loved hanging out with my dad all the time, bucking bales of hay and driving the truck and taking steer to the fair. And I mean, I, I graduated from a high school. My class was 17. So I'm you know, very rural area. And so and I loved working at Gonzaga, but I just didn't like sitting behind a desk all the time, and it wasn't really that challenging, but it was stable, right? I mean, I had benefits and, all the things, and then I was suddenly was a single mom, and so had to pay the bills, um, and so, yeah, I just thought, "Well, how hard can it be to start a moving company?" Like, I mean, can't be that hard. It
Sure.
it's not
How
that hard, is
hard?
what we all think. And so I thought, well, I could just do the moves on the weekends and I'll keep my job. And so that's what I would do. And I did not buy a truck. I would just rent a budget truck, and I kept my moving blankets in my storage closet at the condo I had here in Spokane. And so I would get the rental truck, bring it here, load the blankets in the back, and then we go do these moves on the weekends. And so that was pretty much how it worked for the first couple of years.
I can imagine being a guest showing up at your house and they're like, people put duvet covers on the couches. Are you moving? You'll be like, no, no, no. They're just moving pads. I'm just putting them on the couch to keep them safe. I have a move going on. Can you please stand up?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need these
So in
pads.
2012, like what you were saying earlier, that's when it was like my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, he was my first truck driver, and he said, "Look, we really need you. Like, it's getting crazy." And I mean that, and over that time we were doing moves. I just wasn't on them
Still on the
when I was
weekends, or is it more
working.
like now during the week and
There were
everything?
some
Like,
happening during the week, and then I would have employees, because I would get employees from the university. And so they'd come into my office to get their paycheck, right? And so they'd be in my office, and my boss would be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Anyway, it got a little awkward. And so finally I was just like, "Look, I'm just gonna take this leap and hopefully it'll work. And, if it doesn't, I mean, I tried." And so, yeah, obviously it worked, and
and the name.
I can't get out.
Oh no, once you're in, you're in. You are
Yeah,
stuck.
the name MovHer, MovHer, actually was created by my husband, my second husband. He was a graphic designer. So his background is art. We were talking about it, and we were like, "Well, we want it to be, obviously look like it's woman-owned," which is why the H is it's like cursive, and it's pink, and the rest of the letters are black. And, it was really difficult for me because I'm sort of a spelling Nazi. Like, it bothers me when people can't spell well. And I'm like, "Oh, geez," but it works. It works. And so, yeah, that's how we came up with the name. And yeah, and it definitely stands out for sure.
Before we ever started using a moving CRM, someone asked me, could you 10x what you're doing right now with the current systems and processes you have in place? And I said no. And so he was like, well, then you need to just pull the trigger on the software. And then I saw SmartMoving, and it was game over.
Austin joined thousands of moving owners on SmartMoving in 2021. Since then, he's more than doubled his business.
And I always compare SmartMoving to Apple products. It's just so simple, so easy to use, and that's really what's allowed my team to scale and now have 2 branches. And last year we scaled Central Coast Moving over 50% growth.
If you're ready to turn your moving company into a machine that drives profit, not chaos, try SmartMoving.
What was the one mindset shift that you gave, like that gave you the courage to bet on yourself at that time when it was like time to take that leap?
What was my mindset shift? Um, I just couldn't fail. I mean, there was just failure wasn't an option, right? And I also knew that we were better than anybody else out there. And I mean, at the time when I started, I sent out a letter to the other moving companies in Spokane, and at the time there were maybe 12 or 13, and I heard back from 1. it's such like a girl thing to do, right? That's what I feel like now looking back on that. And I'm like, hey, I'm Sabrina. I'm starting this new moving company. And I'm sure they just crumpled it up and threw it away. And, but I was like, I'm here to support if you have questions or if I can help out, blah, blah, blah. And one person reached out to me who was a owner operator of Beacons at the time. And
Okay.
he was great. He was a great help to me. And really, I wasn't a competitor of his. I mean, I am independent. He was a van line. As things came up, he was a great local person for me to reach out to. And so I try to do that now that I've been doing this for 15 years, kind of pay that back. And he's since moved on. He's out of the industry and I think living in Florida or something. But yeah, my mindset back then was you really don't have anything to lose, right? I mean, honestly, and then if you're lucky enough for it to work, then all of a sudden it gets a little more nerve-wracking. It's a different sort of a
I love to think of the Sabrina of 2012 that would probably have sent out, a basket of chocolate chip cookies out to these moving companies, a letter and going, "Hi, I'm Sabrina." Whereas like today, you would be like, "Okay, here's some nails and here's some wood and just board up the doors because I'm taking you out because of the strength that we're at now." What would you say to those that are, you know, is it just really that leap? Do you did you ever have that fear of, you said there's nothing to lose, but you were suggesting or saying I'm still a single mother, right? I had went through a divorce. I Could you have went back to the university and kept your job? Like, was it still, did you know that you kind of had that to fall back on where there was nothing to
no,
lose on there?
no,
No, it was like you're out.
it was done, and they probably I don't know if they would have hired me back, but I mean, you can get a job anywhere, right? I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? The worst thing to me is not trying. And so, and so you give it everything you have. And I mean, I did so much networking in those early years. I mean, I was with the National Association of Women Business Owners. I was with chambers. I was attending events every week. I would have vendor booths. I would make my kids come with me at the time. We would donate. I always believed in giving back to the community. And that was that Transitions that you talked about, which is a local nonprofit that benefits women and children here, and we provide free moves as well as monetary donations. So, I mean, it's just it's just a chance to be really truly involved in your community, and you're not and then the money comes, right? Hopefully the money comes later. And it was like I really wanted to make moving something people didn't dread. I wanted to bring people to their door and go, "Hey, this is a linebacker for Eastern, and this is a defense," whatever they are, I don't know, "This is a whatever, from Whitworth, another university here," "and this guy's studying to be an accountant, and this person's he's gonna go into, medical school." I mean, like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to elevate the industry and go, "These are people with goals, and they're not just a bunch of numbskulls that, don't have goals in life, and they're gonna work hard, and you're gonna feel good about having them in your house. And if you want us to move the China hutch 2, 3, 10 times, we're gonna do it with a smile on our face."
Because they're linebackers and they have no problem picking these items up.
Yeah, and so, and I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but it's like when people come and work for us, for MovHer, I mean, it makes me feel so good. And not everybody, but I mean, we get people that go, that was the best job I ever had," and they'll like comment on our social, or they'll still have my cell number and they'll message me. And it's like, we must have done something right. And it's like, I want them to learn how to not only move furniture, because that's great, but I want them to learn how to be good people and how to treat people and how to deal with stressful situations when the husband and the wife are arguing about, "I thought we weren't taking that." "Yeah, we are taking that." Or, you know,
I
I'm like,
appreciate that. I never looked at it from that angle because, I always look at it going, this is a great way to learn customer service, but the idea as you're explaining it, when you're on the move and you are working with people that are highly stressed out, and to teach them how to de-escalate that stress, how to be efficient at customer service, customer care towards people that you have never met before.
Yeah, and it
and
starts with
going
our
to people's
sales
homes and
people.
that etiquette and everything as well too, right? So to me it's huge. That kind of goes into, the fact that MovHer has been something that started as weekend gigs. Now you're doing, 1,500 to 2,000 moves a year. What's the one operational system, like your 3-month training program that you have in place, that's kind of been that secret sauce for scaling?
Our secret sauce for scaling. Boy, why is this so hard to answer? I would say now it's having systems and processes in place, and I know that sounds kind of yawny, kind of boring, but we didn't have them and we could get away with that, and then we hit a certain level and it's like, "Okay, if we don't have these in place, it's just chaos." Because this industry is chaos no matter how much you try to get it in order, right? And so we've found that the more that we've developed those over the years, the more we can count on things happening the same way, and we're not hoping that, you know, Nick is in this position or Josh is always there or, these people, but that we've recorded processes of here's how you do it. And our training system, we never had a training system in those early years. It was just like, I mean, literally I was on the jobs and it was just learn as you go.
Are you a mover looking to make an impact? Discover Moving Letters AI and join the ML Plus Club today. Elevate your customer engagement with the personal touch of handwritten letters.
If you want to take your company to that next level, it's the only way to subscribe. If you're doing anything but Moving Letters AI, you need to get on it. So it's going to take your business to that next level. You're going to see an increase in that revenue. Let's go.
I highly recommend using this company. They're amazing to work with. They even send you an email on how much work they're producing for you.
Don't miss out. Join the revolution and start making moves that matter.
Put a golden damn ticket in there with Moving Letters AI.
Being found on the second page of Google is literally like having a billboard in the middle of the desert. Your mama ain't gonna see it. No one's gonna see it. You're on the second page of Google. No one's gonna call. No one's gonna book. Here is the deal. If your business is not ranking on the top of Google, that means your competitors are going to be stealing your customers every single day. So at Rotate Digital, we don't play any guessing games. We use data-driven SEO strategies to make sure Google finds you first so that these Google searches turn into your customers, not your competitors' customers. How do we do it? We do it through AI-driven keyword optimization, exclusive blog networks, backlinking strategies, and honestly, the secret stuff, the proprietary lead attribution software. So what do you get as a result? You get not only good marketing, but now you get clarity into what is bringing you more revenue. So if that's something you want to do, you want to make sure your leads find you and not your competition, go ahead and go to rotatedigital.com, schedule a call, and we'll help you take your business to the top of Google.
Now, you mentioned yourself, like learn as you go. Was there an outlook of trying to hire individual? I know you were saying that you were hiring those from the university, but when you get like a group of people, you're just kind of like, okay, like we can kind of figure this out. Was there any options to kind of go out to hire actual guys that came from the industry to bring in? You talked about the guy from Beacons, like to give you some. Did you use any kind of training tools, or did you search online to see how to wrap this furniture a little bit better? Was there any, you know what I mean?
Back when I started in 2010, I swear to God, there was nothing. And I don't know if everybody or anybody that's listening to this would agree with that, but I remember looking online and I was amazed. So in Washington State, household goods moving is regulated. Is it regulated where you are, Mark?
Fairly, yeah. Yeah, I know it's
And I
I know
don't
it's a lot more in Washington State for sure. I've talked
Yeah,
to
so,
someone
like,
that
it's
are in.
regulated in Washington and Oregon and California.
Yeah.
Idaho, it's a free-for-all, right? So why didn't I start my company in Idaho? It's not that far from me.
You can still
Well
start. It's only 2025. You'll have been doing this for 17 years or so.
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
was there were no resources, and I was just amazed at how easy it was for me to literally fill out the paperwork for the Utilities and Transportation Commission, because that's the agency, the government agency that regulates moving companies. And I had to attend like a half-day session of where they went over nothing about how to run a move, nothing. And I'm just like, wow, like you're just supposed to figure this out. And So that's pretty much what we did. And so we've created our own training program and over the years, and we love it. It works well. And we found that generally when we hire people with industry experience, that it's not really the way we do things, and they're not necessarily a great fit for us. Not all the time, but it's harder to break old habits than instill new ones. Is like what I like to say, right? And we are different, man. I mean, we're different. Like and I don't mean to like try to put myself on a pedestal, but I know everybody probably says that they're different, but um we work really, really hard at providing a great service, and it's hurtful when we get that 1-star review because we're not, you're not great 100% of the time. Sometimes it does suck.
I always tell clients that we do a lot of regular work with, those that we do like 50 moves for over the course of the year. And I always give them the heads up in the beginning. I says, we're going to be doing 50 to 100 moves with you. 100%, one will probably go wrong. And we'll do our
Right?
utmost best to fix that
Yeah.
problem as quick
Yeah.
as we can.
Yeah.
But because you're using us on that regular basis, you never know. Right.
Right.
But we just want to make
Right.
sure that we're doing the best, because you
Yeah.
get the one-offs where everything generally goes fantastic. New customer, new
Yeah.
person, no problem.
Yeah.
Start using on a regular basis. It can happen. You really try not to. When
Yeah.
you talked about hiring universities, you obviously worked at the university, so it's easy to kind of, maybe put out the job boards and stuff. What would you tell those that are listening, that are also kind of going like, man, there's a university like so close to my office and my shop. How, like, how can they go out there to put something on a job board? Like, is there typical, forums on the university websites? Should they just go there with a piece of paper and start hammering it on the billboards everywhere? Like, what is an ideal way to try and hire university students?
We really work on developing and maintaining relationships with the athletic departments. Those are really the people that we want, our athletes, women and men. We just tend to get more men than women. Um, and so it's just like trying to get more business for your business, right? It's kind of comes down to networking and having relationships, helping out the university in any way that you can, whether that's setting up tables for an event or, donating money or buying season tickets to their basketball season or their football season. So that's what's worked really well for us other than just getting general university students. And then once you hire a few of these people, it's word of mouth because they're like, dude, like they're paying 22 an hour plus my tips are like incredible. Like you should check this place out. It's really fun. And and again, I hope that they see that we see the value of them as more than just moving a gun safe or a sofa or whatever. And it's like, look, when you screw up, you tell your lead, right? And so it's that power of honesty. Oh, you scratch a floor. Oh, you broke some glass. You're going to tell the lead. You're going to tell the customer. And I think that kind of comes back to my rural upbringing of just you do what you say and you follow through and that I mean that can kind of turn on not a not so good side too. But I mean generally it's just like be honest and in the good and the bad things. Um, I morphed into another answer. I apologize, but that's our main relationships with the universities is through the athletic directors and then assistant coaches because usually the head coaches are too busy,
Yeah,
but they
no, it's
want to keep
smart.
their players in shape. Some of those
Sure.
players need the money, and then some of those players might lose a scholarship, might get injured enough that they can't play. My operations manager today was a part-time mover, um, and he was a football player for Whitworth University. I mean, he's my operations manager now. And he can move anything, but he also loves numbers. And he does my P&L every month, and he'll be like, and he'd be like, "Why were direct wages so much more, but our revenue didn't really reflect it?" Like, he gets it. So, you never know when that gold nugget's gonna walk through your door and where they come from, right?
And that's where you have to be really on point with when you're doing your hires and to stay in tune with who they are. I think like those regular kind of meetings, sit downs, the one-on-ones to really see where they want to be and catch those golden nuggets so that you can take that and go, hey, wow, like this person does not have to be in this position. He or she needs to be in this position and they're going to thrive. Then then shooting them constantly in the foot because they weren't good in that one spot. And which kind of leads me to, from a first hire to somebody that you wish you never hired. What was like that one lesson, that taught you about building the crew and your org chart in a sense of how you want to build up the company. So do you have one of those hires that you were like, oh boy, I should never put this person in? You have to mention any names, please do, but don't mention any names. Eh,
Are you talking about like drivers, movers, packers, or any kind of
both. Give me like an office one and give me, from crew as well too. The crew ones are usually always more comical. So
Yeah, I don't do. I mean, to be transparent, I don't do that direct hiring anymore. I have somebody that does all the hiring.
but we're talking in the beginning.
Yeah, I would pretty much hire anybody with a pulse in the beginning. I'd be like, and I'd tell my husband, I'd be like, "Oh, he's so nice," and then my husband see me, and he's like, "He like has no muscles. Like, why did you hire this guy?" You know.
He's got
Or
3 teeth. Come on. No,
yeah. Boy, it's hard to think back on the early days, but it's basically people that don't know how to work together as a team, that think that they know it all. Those were the ones. And then I've definitely been overhired on the admin side. That's really hard as you grow to know what can you really afford in your indirect expenses, right? Because you don't necessarily, I mean, and probably when you started too, Mark, you did everything, right? You were on the move and you did the estimates and you were doing the payroll and you were doing all the things. And then at some point you start finding people to take those responsibilities. But I found myself overhired. I wouldn't say it's a regret that I have of anybody in particular that I hired, but it was usually my mistake, because I didn't understand my numbers. And then I had to make hard decisions because of that. So I would say I've lost a lot of friends, to be honest. I mean, not a lot, but a few.
If you're considering Snowball, just do it.
Snowball creates done-for-you referral programs for moving companies so you can turn happy customers into new revenue without lifting a finger. And the results speak for themselves.
In less than a year, we've collected over 2,000 referrals.
We generated over $200,000 of revenue that cost about $5,000 to do it.
I believe we have 4 or 5 the very first day.
The companies winning with Snowball are the ones that already care about their customers. We just help turn that into new business through human outreach and customer nurturing.
Snowball is part of the arsenal of tools that I recommend to my clients because it works.
What have you put in place now, since you don't do the hiring, for the operations manager or for your HR team that now has to seek out to go, listen, don't be like Sabrina. Don't lead with your heart here. This person really shouldn't be hired. Is there certain policies that you have now in place where they have to follow kind of a checklist? And what is like maybe your top 3 on that checklist?
Yes. So we use, I don't know if you've heard hungry, humble, and smart.
No, just hungry, hippo, but yes, but go on.
Who was that by? It's Patrick.
He named the title again. Hungry.
It's hungry, humble, and smart, which allows the ideal team player. And it's an author by the name of Patrick Lencioni, Lencioni. And I'm happy to send you those questions. But there's a set of questions under each of those, under humble, hungry, and smart. And it just gives you an idea of how they operate, of, do they appear like they're going to be a team player? How did they deal with difficult situations? Why did they leave their last job? And so those are questions that the person in charge of the hiring always asks. And the person that is in charge of our hiring is a complete 180 from me. I mean, which is great. He's very black and white. He's very structured, where I'm more like, hey, let me get to know you. And I'm just I'm way too casual for it. So I need somebody like that in that position that can keep that structure.
When, yeah, you mentioned before your now husband, was kind of like your right-hand person in the beginning. As you guys were starting to grow, you're doing lots of networking. What was like that must-have role that you wanted to hire within the organization, not so much as the lead driver or crew, but within that role where like, things were shifting, like the priorities of yourself were shifting, and now this new role needed to be in place because you saw, hey, we're growing pretty fast.
I needed help with sales because I was doing all the sales. And this was, you have to remember, it was way before COVID. It was way before COVID was a thing. I was because at that point I was giving all the estimates. I was doing all the bills. I was running payroll. I was meeting with my bookkeeper. I mean, I was doing everything. And I'm just like, and I didn't have time to do anything until the evenings. I could just see that that was becoming, that I would burn out if and I'm gonna lose jobs if I can't find somebody to help me. So I found some other women that came in, and I mean, one at a time. And that was kind of hard to give up because you're the face of your company and nobody sells your company like you. But I also have to tell you that I was super offended when I went to somebody's house, a prospect's house, and he was like, "Oh, so you're in sales?" And I was like, "I am not in sales." Like, how dare you? Like, I am providing a great service. Like, it's like the best service, but I'm not selling you anything. And I honestly didn't see myself that way. I was just like, no, like we're this really awesome moving company. There's nobody else out here like us. But then after a while, I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I am in sales. Like we're all selling something, right?
Always.
You're selling your podcast. I mean, I'm okay with it now. But at the time it was like I was super offended. Like, I'm not in sales. It sounds sleazy. I'm not in sales.
And then do you always tie in and be like, with your move, we'll always throw in a car as well too. No, it's like, just get this added on. I'll never forget. I hired a sales guy that I thought was really, on paper, he was super friendly, right? Very personable. But boy, this guy just would talk and talk and talk. And he never came from car sales, but I remember having a customer phone me and being like, "Do you have this guy working for you?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, he seemed like the sleaziest car salesman coming to my house today to try and sign up for moving. And it made me really start thinking that reflection of, how is that, like, what is our procedure, right? Like, what is that sales script? How are we conducting ourselves in a customer's home? Can we read a customer? I find that really important too, because a lot of times people go, well, here's the sales template, follow this and follow this to a T. But you know what? Like, Sally next door might not have the same feelings or like the same kind of demeanor as, Mr. and Mrs. Jones that just sold their house. They just made tons of money. They don't even care about the pricing, right? Sally might be like, hey, I just lost my job. I'm downsizing. I'm elderly, and you kind of have to take that sales approach completely different. And
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
have those different characteristics within you in
Right.
sales to know
Right.
how to adapt to a situation. And I
Yeah.
think
I
that
mean,
is key.
sales has changed so much since 2010. How long have you been in
Oh, yeah.
business in the moving industry?
Oh, geez, since 2006?
Okay. So yeah, like you totally get it. And I mean,
Yeah.
now we can have our conversations recorded and you have AI, a lot of us have VAs. And I mean, there's just so many opportunities, I guess, to automate it. And it's tempting. And I do have a VA and then I have two other salespeople. And every once in a while I'll pop on and I'll listen to some recordings and it's hard. It's hard because
You wanna judge. You wanna criticize that call
but
100%.
But I try to criticize in a positive way of just like because and for my experience with VAs is that they are very structured. If you give them a script, they are gonna run through that script, which is great. They're super thorough. But sometimes they forget to be personable. Like, "Oh, so why are you moving?" Or "When do you need to move?" "Oh, I need to move by next month because my husband died and I need to move to a smaller place." And then there's just silence, and there's no like, "Oh my God, I'm so
Mornings,
sorry."
afternoons work for you? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
right? And I'm like, "Oh my God, don't forget the person that you're talking to." And so sometimes we just sort of have to reel it back a little bit of, and that's really important in our notes that our drivers read and our movers read of just like we have an outline of all the information, and it's like, what's the overview of this move? Who are these people? Have we moved them before? Why are they moving? What do we need to, give us some flavor. Give us some flavor of this move. So I think that makes a big difference.
and I think someone that's very personable, to me, I've always grown up where humor has been a key, right? To break the ice, to keep things lighthearted, to not be so serious because, why be serious all the time? I just think you kind of have to laugh sometimes, whether it's at yourself or at others. So, but like,
Every day.
or at the situation, right? But
Sarcasm is very high at MovHer.
oh, yeah, see, that's perfect. That's perfect. This is why we click so well together. Um, we talked right in the beginning about how you have went and gotten like the senior move management certification and expanded into different types of storage. Can you elaborate on what how diversified MovHer is, why that has helped you grow
Yeah.
as an
Um,
organization?
yeah. So first of all, let me just admit that I had no idea that I wouldn't make hardly any money off of moving. I didn't know what like the average or
And
the
that's our
industry.
show, people. No,
And we're done. We're out.
and we're
But
done.
I didn't know what the industry standard was for a net profit for a moving company. I didn't know that. I do now. But when I started MovHer, I also offered, in addition to being woman owned, which separated me in the industry, we also offered move out cleaning. Because I was like, why not? And so guess who did all the cleaning? Me and my husband. And so early on. And so I didn't know it then, but I was already diversifying. And at that point in time, and for the next 10 years, the money that we would make from those cleanings just stayed with Mover because it was all wrapped under Mover. But by 2018, I people would ask, "Do you do recurring cleaning? Like, do you do maid service? Like, come back on a weekly basis or a biweekly basis?" And I'm like, "I don't need another thing to do. Like, no, we just do move in, move out cleans." And then I finally actually started listening, and I found someone who's a cleaning consultant, who runs her own cleaning company and started her own company, in Texas, in Denton, Texas, very close to Dallas. And I really liked what she had to say, and I ended up joining her program to learn everything about cleaning. And part of me was like, I know. I'm running a moving company. How hard can it be to do cleaning? But I'm glad I did it. I'm still in the
You're like, I'm a
program.
mom and I got to clean up after my kids all the time. Like,
But it was about hiring. It was about marketing. It was about it's about all these things of how to run a successful cleaning company. And by 2020, it wasn't until 2023 that I finally separated the cleaning company from the moving company.
do you find that the cleaning, as you were learning how, like, the ins and outs of the cleaning companies or like how to run a successful one, that the similarities with having a moving company were like hand in hand in the sense of like supplies, labor,
Yeah, a little
customer
bit,
service?
but but cleaning companies on a recurrent like, if you're doing it on a recurring basis, way more relational, right? I mean, we are relational with moving, like, we can come back and move their furniture around their house, but they're probably not gonna move, um, that often, right? So it was a little weird to get used to the same people wanting to communicate with us. It's like, "Oh, you're still here. Oh, right, yeah, we see you every other week." Um, uh, and then yeah, so, I mean, definitely similarities, but definitely a few differences. But when I like, I completely created a new EIN, a new, business entity. I have a completely different banking account for the cleaning company. And because I felt like the cleaning was messing up my numbers for the moving company. And so I didn't really know, right? And I always treated the cleaning company as just like an afterthought.
Right. And you probably had like a line item for cleaning, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the payroll side, everything just kind of lumped
Yeah.
together. So you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out those margins, and the hourly
Exactly.
rates probably for cleaning are a lot less than moving.
Yes.
So you're like,
Yeah.
how are these numbers not working out? And
Yeah.
and where am I benefiting? Sure.
Yeah. And so what I've discovered is that so since I started inspecting what I expected, I grew my net profit by over 2,100% from 2022 to 2023. And then it grew by like over 517% from 23 to 24. And those are completely separate employees, right? I'm not sending my movers to go clean people's houses. I mean, they work Monday through Friday. My movers work whenever they need to
Every day.
work, right? Every day. But it's really taken off. And because I'm paying attention to it is what I'm trying to say. And so that has been a great diversification that I think I just did on just by chance.
Have you found it interesting with the fact that if you look back at 2012 and said, I'm going to start a cleaning company, but like in a sense of what you knew then, as opposed to being educated, having some mentorship, understanding your numbers, and then, taking that company and going, okay, I'm going to take everything that I've learned, put this now into a proper LLC, incorporate it, keep everything separate, and I'm going to see how fast I can kind of almost get this company to grow. Or like, will this work?
Yeah.
Do you find you wouldn't have had the same success as you would have in 2012? Like, if you had done the same thing, like just we're going to set up another corporate company.
Oh,
we're
no.
gonna get this thing set up.
I would not have had the same success. No.
Who do you attribute any that success to? Do you have like a mentor or coach that you deal with now?
I contributed to the group that I joined, which is run by Debbie Sardone. It's called Cleaning Business. Well, it's Cleaning Business Fundamentals, but people can find her. It's themaidcoach.com, MAID. Themaidcoach.com is her website for her consulting. But I mean, she literally started out of the trunk of her car over 30 years ago and also knew nothing about the industry and has just turned her business and then created a brand new consulting business off of what she's learned and shared it with so many. So it's the power of that, the power of community that has really helped. I mean, after I get off this this episode with you, I'm going to jump on a 90-minute weekly thing that I have with my cohort in that group because it's just, and then before I was on a marketing meeting,
You sound like my days. It's like one thing after another, after another, after another. My office stuff is like, why do you even show up to the office? Like your doors are closed 80% of the time because you're just in one meeting after another.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have one of those like pull number tabs outside my office, and then the light in my office lights up. Be like, calling number 103, come on in. Right? And they just like, come talk to me really quickly.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating with the cleaning. It's always interesting because you think every niche area has some type of strength in a coach and to a mentorship. They have some type of program. I bet you there is a cleaning podcast out there that is just rocking it as well too, with full of information. When you had the clean division, congratulations, by the way. I mean, that's remarkable then to have such a successful moving company, having a successful and constantly growing cleaning company as well too. Because a lot of us in the industry go, okay, great, I'm going to get into junk removal. I've talked about this too in the podcast. You want to do junk removal, you want to do cleaning. What else is there? You kind of want to get into, third party creating services. If you have a good handyman tool, some type of builder, that's working for you as well too. Okay, there's so much money in this as well too. Or we can build lift vans and we can do this, we can do that. But to get to a certain number where you're like, okay, now we're going to separate. Because a lot of times we just, as businesses, we're like, okay, it's not big enough to separate. It just sounds like more headaches. So we're just going to kind of keep it within the organization. For those that are listening, that are in that mix, what's one thing that you found? Was there a number? Was there a certain area where you're like, okay, now we have to break away and now I have to have it as a separate company?
I was just committed to actually paying attention to my cleaning business. And before I wasn't committed. And it was literally in the red because I would just take the money in my MovHer checking account and use it for whatever. And so again, that was my fault. And I just decided, you know what? If I actually pay attention to this, I know I can turn it into a profitable business. And obviously I have, and I'm not done yet. And it's like anything, it's like starting your own moving company or whatever company you're starting. You have to be willing to put in the time and learn and try to find people or resources like podcasts or whatever, who are willing to help, kind of provide some guidance. And yeah, so it's paying attention. It's paying attention and and being consistent. So it's only hard, I feel like, when you keep putting off the things, that you should be paying attention to. And it's also like we have these level 10 meetings every week. And so people are accountable to their own numbers, and that's helpful as well, right? So you're not, I mean, early on, if all you can afford is you, then it does have to be you. But as you continue to grow, hopefully, you will have people that can be responsible for specific numbers. And now I have for the cleaning company, I have a full-time salesperson and I have a part-time office admin. And so we meet every week as well. And we go over how many leads did we get? How many of those did we quote? What was our conversion? And how many of those were recurring? Did we have any claims? And do we need to hire? I mean, so, you know, we go over all those. Yesterday, yeah, there was a question on commission and, why did they get commission subtracted when we lost customers? And I'm like, well, you could bring in 11 customers, but what if we had 14 leave? The company doesn't make any money. So it's not me, but it's the company. The company has to grow. And when the company grows, you guys benefit. And so then that morphed into, this is why we track our leads. This is why when you're on the phone with a prospect that you say, how did you hear of us? And you track that because we know how much money are we spending on Google? How much are we spending on a e-newsletter? How much are we spending on postcards? Blah, blah, blah. And then we can say, and how many jobs did we get off of that? What was the revenue? Blah, 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 right? All that stuff. And
Sure.
so by the time I got done explaining all that, they were like, oh, okay. And I showed them the P&L. I showed them the P&L from May. And I'm like, May wasn't good. And I go, I'm not showing you this to make you feel bad. That's not my intention. But I'm just saying, you see what we're bringing in, but let me explain to you where all this money goes and why it's important that we're doing everything that we're doing.
Hi, I'm Mark Hershey with Salmon's Moving and Storage. Today, I want to talk about Tighten Up training. Why? Because this is Netflix grade quality training. It's not those old videos and VHSs that you got hiding in your office somewhere. It's online, it's easy to use, they're short videos, but they get to the point. My new employees, these guys run through these training programs, there's tests at the end, and they're coming out going, oh, I'm ready to rock. So if you haven't checked out Tighten Up training yet, get a demo done. Get on board. Guess what else is there? Online portals for my sales staff. Can you believe it? These guys can learn how to overcome objections and book more leads today. So what are you waiting for? Go check out Tighten Up training today.
Do you have the same type of meetings then within the moving organization as well too at MovHer, or do you have now someone that's kind of more your right-hand person in place there that handles these meetings?
Well, I do have a right-hand person, which is that his name is Nick Little. And but
Shout out
I'm
to
still
Nick.
shout out to Nick. Yes, he's awesome. So fortunate to have him. Literally he pretty much runs that company. I mean, he pretty much does. And but I still attend the level 10 meetings. I report on sales.
What made you start this level 10? I kind of want to elaborate on this before we wrap it up. What is this level 10? Is this from like a book or mentorship that you learned? Is it just something that you guys incorporated?
Yeah, you can go to YouTube or Google it or whatever. There's YouTube videos on level 10, but it's basically a 90-minute meeting where you have like power wins from the last week, and then you do milestone reviews. So you set like, obviously like kind of like a 3-month goal, something that you're trying to achieve within 3 months. And then under that, you have to-do lists of what you're going to do over the next week to get closer to achieving that goal. And then the bulk of the meeting is about an hour, a little less than an hour. is called problem solution. And so everybody gets a chance to say, this is my problem. And then everybody contributes to try to come up with the solution. And so we've got operations, sales, dispatch, and recruitment, and warehouse. And so everybody has their own KPIs that they share. And based on these numbers, or based on power wins or to-do lists, a lot of times that's what flows into that problem solution hour-long discussion. And so it also helps everybody understand the different parts of the company, because if all you're doing is dispatch and recruitment, you don't really think about what's going on in the warehouse. You don't really care. But all of a sudden, if you spend 90 minutes thinking about, oh, you received how much stuff in that warehouse last week? Wow. Okay, no wonder I didn't see you very much. So, and then the same thing with dispatch and recruitment, right? Oh, you had how many interviews last week? You had to onboard how many people? Oh, okay. So it
And that
keeps
type of
people,
communication, I think, is key, and hold people
yeah,
accountable.
yeah. And honestly, Mark, we just started doing that last fall. So,
And
but
have
it's
you
good.
seen a great improvement in like the
Yeah,
staff?
yeah, yeah. Better accountability, better
Sure.
understanding. Um, and Nick at one point was like, if we took these numbers and put them together and put them on a graph, and I was just like, he just like took it to a whole new level. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to see and what I want to hear.
Is there certain AI tools or certain programs that you use to kind of keep the company optimized? Like, what CRM company are you using?
SmartMoving. We've been using
Ooh,
SmartMoving.
shout out to SmartMoving.
Yes, I love SmartMoving. Before that, yeah, I had just put estimate forms and BOLs. I created them on an iPad, and I hated the triplicate. I hated the paper. And then we've got dial pad for our telephones. Yeah, and I don't know what else do of course we're using Chat GPT, but we don't have any. I don't think SmartMoving. I asked at one point if they had like an AI customer service kind of thing, and I don't think they do yet.
It's getting there.
I know it's coming. And I waffle back and forth because it's great, and we've adopted some of it, of course, because you're silly if you don't. I just don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the person aspect, I guess, of who we are. But I also don't want to lose great leads.
Which I think is great too. No, for sure. I think there's a way to incorporate it as well. I
Yeah.
find there are some tools out there. I think sometimes the best method is to utilize AI voice agents to capture those leads, get like the intro, the name, maybe the when they're moving, and then that soft transfer right over to a sales rep, or
Yeah.
that it
Well, you
gets the
had somebody
information so it
on.
gets emailed out. Yeah, we
You
did.
had the guy that's assistantly AI.
That's right. Yeah, Rob Marchese,
Yes.
out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
His program I find very fascinating as well too. We also
Yeah.
had another lovely lady on the show a month ago who has developed an AI voice agent as well too. So there are several of those out there that I find work out great. I just always say people do 3 demos, test them all out, see what works for you, and then
Yes.
go from there. So,
Yeah. And we do love Live Switch, which is now integrated into
yeah,
SmartMoving.
which is
But we
great.
use
Yeah, we
Live
use
Switch
Live Switch as
prior
well
to
too.
that. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So
which is
many ways that really this the opportunity to give an estimate has been simplified instead of going out and doing on-site estimates.
What for our listeners that we finish off now, what was one lesson that you learned through all these years that that has like held you to the point where you are now? Like, what's something that you have taken with you over the years that has helped you grow?
Patience.
Patience.
That's probably pretty boring.
It's not. It's not in the world. I think in the world that we live in now, especially with 2025, when we were touching base on this earlier, in a sense of how sales works, there is this constant instant gratification that people want things now. They actually want it yesterday. They wanted it 5 minutes ago. And to have patience in a sense of growth, the reward at the end is exponential. And people sometimes just don't want to wait that long. But in reality, it pays off.
Yeah. Let me say patience and planning.
Right.
Right. So every year we set a financial goal for the coming year. So by, right. So November, December, we're looking ahead. Okay. In 2026, what's our revenue goal? And what are we going to achieve every month to hit that? And so we have a target, and that's for both the cleaning company and for the moving company. And so that's always, what we're shooting for.
Yeah, you can't have that field of dreams moment where if you build it, they will come. He didn't just not build it and just had patience and waited. He had to have a plan kind of in place and and a goal. And I think that's really important too. And if you're looking for that type of information and you want to learn more about like how to plan, I highly recommend you read some amazing books. We'll have it listed on here as well too. But one of the ones that you did recommend, which is the let's repeat it again,
Hungry, Humble, Smart
Hungry, Humble, Smart. I want to look that
by
up. I think
Patrick
that's fantastic.
Lencioni.
Yes.
And then there's another. Can I mention another book?
Please do.
Profit First. Have you heard of that?
Yes, it's on my list. I'm just
Game
finishing up another book, and that's
changer.
my next one.
Game changer. Like, I wish I would have done that 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Huge.
And for those that are listening, the book now finally came back to me. I didn't want to print Hometown Titan. It's written by a friend of mine, Wade Sweikel, who many of you heard about. I find that book so well written in a sense of if you are looking to try and get into the game and you want to understand patience and the ups and falls of running your own moving company, it is such a great book to read because you kind of get a good insight of where to go, how to make it work, and what the outcome was, which is, having multiple franchises and being successful within the industry. And in being a hometown dominator and being a hometown titan. So definitely those 3 books.
Yeah. And sometimes you just have to define what success is to you. Because sometimes it's easy to get caught up in like, oh, this person has this many locations, or they've franchised, or they've done this, and I'm such a loser, I haven't done any of that. Maybe that's not what success is for you. So what does that mean to you? And it's all different for us. So I think sometimes competing with ourselves is better than competing with anybody else.
Probably something you should write down and put out on your wall of like, and define that for yourself. Like, I completely agree. The essence of profit and thriving is so different to so many people. A lot of people just want to work 12-hour days. They just want to make tons of money and everything else. I'd rather work like 5 or 6 hours a day and spend time with my family. Right. So it's all depending on what it is. If I didn't make that extra dollar, I'm not at the end of the world because I'm enjoying those moments in time and building, those lasting memories. So, but it's all
you are in such a great time of your life, Mark. And I know you're exhausted, but yeah, my kids are 31 and 29. And so, yeah, I can say that.
Yeah. So are they involved in the business?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I love it. I love it.
No. They know better than that.
They know better.
But they're great kids. I'm very proud of them.
Which is good. Which is great. For all those listening, we always appreciate your comments. If you are looking at expanding your business, if you have already done this approach and expanded into the cleaning industry, maybe junk removal, share your comments of what worked, what didn't work. Did you separate your companies, or is it still under one and you are now struggling to figure out those numbers? And we can send you definitely to a program that can work and that can help you out, get that figured out. Please do. And Sabrina, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
This was so fun.
A real pleasure. We'll definitely have to set up a part 2 down the line because it is great. We could probably sit here and talk for hours.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to meet you in person one of these days.
One of these days.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. People always are like, oh, how close are you to Seattle? I'm like, 2 hours. Like, it's not.
Right?
And Spokane, I think, is like 5 hours. So it's not far.
Yeah.
If you drive the speed limit. And for all those that are listening, thank you so much for tuning in and stay Movified. Thank you.